Sorry about that. Idiots don't know how to drive around here, apparently. So I didn't know what I did to deserve the pain I was going through. Every single day of my life, even now, feels like a loss. Like I lost someone. Like I have lost people. And eventually, that pain simmers down to a low, just to the back of your mind. Eventually, it calms. And you become at peace with, for the most part, with them being gone. The only way that I can explain this pain that I feel, and I don't know if this is for every infertile couple or woman. It's as if I've lost someone every month for 13 years. And the worst was yet to come. So we kind of moved on with life. We just let things happen. Started living a little more. We bought a horse, something I've always wanted to do, and moved to a beautiful farm we were renting. Well, that led to this, and we bought our own farm, small farm, 7 acres, 3 barns, 4 barns, 3 corn cribs. We have 2 horses. We did have chickens and pigs and turkeys, and we have 2 cats and a dog. We've stayed busy. Well, just so happens that I ended up getting a job as a caregiver. They decided to hire me in because I started as a temp. And then they decided to give me full time, which came with benefits. Well, in Michigan, Michigan does not require employers to add, or insurers to add IVF or any infertility treatments to their insurance. So if they do that, that is out of the kindness of their hearts, which most likely, in my mind, if they've added any sort... Sorry about that. In my mind, if a company decides to add infertility riders or specifically pick an insurance that is going to cover infertility, then that owner's been through what I've been through. Or they know the miracle of having a family and they want other people that can't to have that too. Well, come to find out, the insurance that I was going to receive completely covered IVF. I could not believe it. It was our last chance. I thought, our last chance. Sorry, I do get very emotional about this. Just thinking back on a lot of this that's coming out of nowhere. So, we went through a lot. We lost weight. Quit drinking pop. Did all of these medications and tests and just paid out the wazoo on top of the actual fertility coverage. There was some co-pays and such. And payments that you had to pay for being put under for the egg extraction. So we got all that covered. We did so many medications. So many. And they ordered us just pointless medications that we never even had to take. And I know why they did that. They wanted to charge our insurance as much as humanly possible for this ridiculous price to have a baby. I don't care. I do not care. It does not cost $25,000 or $10,000 or $15,000 to do IVF, to physically be that doctor. How can you charge someone that amount of money for going in, taking their eggs, putting them together with their sperm, and giving them back? Like, what? I am blown away at the cost of IVF. When they told me what it cost, I was so grateful that I had insurance that covered it. So, we did Gonal F and progesterone and God knows what else. I still have a whole box of medications that I can't use. No Gonal F, of course, but just a ridiculous amount of medications. Shots. A lot of shots. And I'm afraid of needles, but I did it anyway for the love of a child, to grow our family. So the day came, we went in for egg retrieval. And they put me in this gown, covered my hair. I had still had pictures from that day, pictures of the ultrasound in my old phone, and I lost them, unfortunately. So they went in and took my eggs, follicles, whatever you want to call them. They were my eggs. When I came to, I was in so much pain. It's a bit of a funny story. And probably TMI, but this is sometimes the funny aspect of infertility treatments. I woke up in so much pain, I looked at the doctor and said, "Is childbirth as painful as this?" And he said, "Oh yes, honey, much worse." And I said, "Why do I want children?" Still high from being under. She started laughing. And then I looked at my husband and I said, "Go get my pain medicine now, please." And then I looked at the nurse and said, "I have to poop." The nurse said, "No, you don't. I promise you, it is from the pressure you're feeling down there." So, come to find out, they had removed 40 mature follicles from my ovaries. 40. On average, most women get 20, 25. They took 40 from me. So, if you've had IVF and you had 20 eggs or follicles removed, imagine 40 follicles. 18 millimeter follicles. I mean, I don't. So, the next day we called to check on our follicles, on our embryos, to see what had taken. 26 had fertilized. 26 out of 40. That was a good number. A lot of people are lucky to get 4. I mean, it was a really good number. We were ecstatic. So the day after that, we called. I believe this was day 2. They had gone significantly lower from 36, I believe, down to 14. 14 were still fertilized and growing. So the next day, we get a call. And 3 were still growing. 3 embryos were still growing out of 40, out of 26 embryos. 3. I didn't know what to think. At the time, I was just grateful we had anything. But then they had told me that these were not going to survive to be frozen, to do the frozen transfer after I was healed. Because after all of this, I was so hyperstimulated and dehydrated that I had to go in every single day, first thing in the morning, to get blood work and to get IV fluids in both of my arms every day. Even after transfer, so at my doctor's, they would not allow us to transfer 3. Even though they were mine, those were my embryos, my babies in my eyes, my husband's and my babies. They would not allow us to put all 3 back in. At that point, I could have cared less if I was Octomom. I didn't care. I would have found a way. I would have found a way. They refused to put all 3 back in. They put the 2 strongest looking ones back in on day 3. And I was supposed to go back to work, and I did for one night. That was the day after retrieval. And I was alone at work with, I believe it was 6 residents at the time. And I was in so much pain that I could not leave the couch. So when I told my boss that I was not going to be able to work the night after, she told me that if I did not show up, that I would lose my full-time status and my insurance. So essentially, she threatened my fertility because of a job I was not able to do, even with a doctor's note. When my doctor found out that I had been working, especially alone, right after retrieval, she was furious. Furious. I had given my boss a doctor's note. And the doctor said, or my boss said, Lord, the doctor said, you cannot go back. You cannot go back for at least 4 more days until you get these fluids put back in your body. If not, you're going to the hospital, and that's where you'll stay. So I tried to explain this to my boss. Again, she threatened my fertility, my treatments, my insurance. And essentially, I told her she is the most cold-hearted person I have ever met. And pretty much told her where to shove it. And it felt good. But at the same time, it was hard. Because either I go to work and be Either I go to work and be in so much pain that I cannot take care of my residents who needed help with everything, and potentially put myself in the hospital, or I tell her where to shove it before she fires me. I had no choice. So, do I regret my decision? Yes. Only because I loved my residents and I lost my insurance. That meant no more IVFs. That meant no more almost covered infertility treatments. I had no choice. My hands were tied. My boss was an asshole and didn't care. So we waited. Women with infertility would know this 2-week wait or 7-day wait, whatever, after IVF, after IUIs, after normal trying to conceive. That is the longest 2 weeks of your life. You don't know what to do with yourself. And if you are like me and you're not currently working, it will drive you insane. That is one of my reasonings behind making this video. Okay, so we did IVF probably 3 years ago now, I want to say. Forgot to mention that we fostered a newborn for 8 months. Not that I forgot her. This used to be her room. But I try to forget because it's a painful story. That's another story, though. We fostered her before we did IVF. We did not continue fostering after her. Anyway, so after IVF failed, our only and last shot at the last thing on earth that we could do failed. I didn't know what to do. I stopped. I hid everything. Anything that had to do with trying to conceive or having a baby. I hid it. I put it away. Pushed it to the back of my mind and started drinking. I started drinking. And I was always the good kid, you know? My dad has 8 kids. And I was the one that took care of him. I drank a lot. It wasn't an everyday thing. But when you come from both sides of your family and alcoholism, alcohol doesn't do you good. I still drink to this day. Not like that, thank God. Once in a while, bonfires, friends have a party. And I've switched to just not alcohol for the most part. I've calmed down a lot, but that was a pretty scary moment in my life. And I could have easily lost my life in that time. I had made some very stupid decisions where I compromised my marriage. I compromised my self. I could have gone to jail. I could have lost my license. I could have hurt somebody. I mean, all those things that I never thought in a million years I could do. But I was trying to numb the pain. I was trying to think of anything else. And I did. All I did was think about drinking. The thought of losing my husband is kind of what brought me out of that. We have since taken breaks, not trying, but just staying busy. We cut our own hay and chores and trying to clean out our barns and our house, and just my husband made me this craft room, I guess, to distract me. I know he did it because he loves me. And I always have some kind of project or activity. And I've barely been in here. I don't know if in the back of my mind that's because it was Bella's room, my foster daughter, or if my mind just stopped working. I have no inspiration anymore between painting and sewing and drawing and projects. But the last step, which should have been number one to begin with, the very last thing that we've tried was about 2 months ago. I went to a gynecologist with painful periods. And while I was there, the nurse had mentioned that she went through infertility for 13 years. She was an older woman. I said, "Did you ever get over it? Did you ever have a baby?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "Really? What did you do? How?" She looked at me and said, "This doctor." I said, "How did this doctor help you get pregnant?"